Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much. Really impressed by your work, and it's great to hear that had your roots. You started out in the Cincinnati area, so I think a lot of our students here, we've got about 20 to 30 students here, and I think they are going to really sort of like hearing your story, and
Cool.
Also about how you got your start. A couple things I would like to thank everyone who came today, and I'd also like to thank the Nair Guest Artist Fund and the School of the Arts for funding the guest artists. So thank you all for coming, and please give Patrick Osborne a big round of applause.
Oh, they are there. I could hear that.
Thank you, Christina, for arranging this great guest artist.
Yeah, I was just saying that, it's fun teaching now, and your father taught me at University of Cincinnati in industrial design. So, it's
cool.
kind of full circle. So,
introduction. Patrick Osborne is the creator and director of the Academy Award-winning short film Feast for Disney, and served as Animation Supervisor on Academy Award-winning short Paperman and Big Hero 6. After Disney, Patrick created and directed the groundbreaking VR film Pearl for Google Spotlight Stories, which premiered in 2016 the Tribeca Film Festival. Pearl is the first VR film to be released on 5 different platforms, from mobile to high-end headset, and has been called the best VR cinematic experience by The Verge in 2016. Patrick has recently completed directing the Billie Eilish concert film for Disney+, Happier Ever After, a love letter to Los Angeles, as well as a highly anticipated episode for Season 3 of Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots. Patrick grew up in Cincinnati and went to Xavier High School. Welcome, Patrick.
All right. Hopefully it's set to be speaker view, so I'm big because I'm just going to share my screen with like gamer streamer style with this little fanciness, right?
oh, nice.
Does that read okay? Is it reversed, or does it feel fine?
Oh, it looks great.
Okay. It's reversed to me for some reason. That's weird. I haven't seen that. Oh, it's just through Zoom. Anyway, yeah, hi, I'm Patrick. I am from Cincinnati. I know it's funny in like other cities, East Side, West Side, what high school you went to, whatever, stuff like that doesn't really matter much, but I know it does there. People like to talk about that even when you're 40. So yeah, I'm a West Sider from the Bridgetown area, went to St. X. But I think fundamentally at the center of why Cincinnati had an impact on me is that my dad was a toy designer at Kenner Toys, which was headquartered in Cincinnati. It's some of my dad does a lot of that's me and him when we were little in the kitchen, and I was on the box of the Care Bears toys when I was like 2 or 3. And my dad does a lot of stuff with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he likes to draw cars and design toys and all of that. And from a young age, I would draw with him. He had a little workshop at home and would draw, and I would sit there too and do it. And I was designing my own little Nintendo games. I was a Nintendo obsessed, kid, and I feel like I grew up in a kind of a weird time for tinkering with filmmaking. You always see these like stories about like Spielberg or J.J. Abrams having their parents like Super 8 camera and being able to make movies and edit, and then kids now can you can make movies on your iPhone that look amazing, or not even iPhone, any phone, the free stuff, almost free devices. And I growing up in the 80s, we had VHS cameras, which were really terrible to make movies on. And if you hear kid in the background, that's my son who's outside the garage and sometimes yells. I used to try to make movies, even though it was with the VHS camera, and really early versions of pulling that into the computer. My brothers and I would kind of screw around with these, trying to do blue screen chroma key stuff. It didn't really work. Like VHS cameras were doing all kinds of crappy adjustments on the fly to make the image look better, but terrible for doing, any kind of effects. And my younger brothers and their friends were kind of my crew and actors, and we had fun making these like dumb little movies. And then as computers kind of came online, I was a John Woo and Star Wars fan, so I did very early 320 by 240 resolution, visual effects in first versions of like Premiere on a Mac in like 1992, 93-ish. And that's where this kind of stuff was. So I knew I wanted to do something with drawing and making movies. And it's tricky to, it's tricky now to know what to do with your education. I think, you guys are at NKU, but I think there's obviously tons of places where you can kind of learn to make stuff. And, I decided to go to Ringling. I don't know if I was like fully knew if it was a good choice or not, really. Like, it's the kind of thing where like you hope you're making the right call with college. I think I was a little bit of a right place, right time with this particular school. And there was only about 30 kids in the class, and we all kind of, I think is what happens at schools. Like half of what's valuable about a school is like the curriculum and the teachers and everything. And I think half of it is the other students there that are passionate about the same thing that you are. So I felt like it was really a nice group of really passionate people who wanted to make, animation, but not really, it was at the end of 2D being viable, at the very beginning of the 3D animation industry really growing and pulling people into it. And a lot of getting hired out there in the world is really about luck and timing. And I think I was really lucky to graduate in 2003 when there was a vacuum of talent. Every single person in our class got hired for something, and a lot of them still work. But it was just like there was a lot going on. So, anybody who knew how to press a few of the buttons was pretty much being pulled in. So I started on Polar Express, which, I was in college very much a purist kind of animator type person, but I'll take any job you'll give me. And Polar Express was a motion capture film, and I didn't really even know what it meant to work with motion capture or anything. But as I say a lot in this talk, like I say yes to things and then roll with it. Sounds like fun. Okay, let's work on Polar Express. I loved the book as a kid. I didn't realize it was going to be this like creepy zombie-ish thing. And it turns out that the technology that they were trying to use for this was, way not quite ready for prime time, I guess you would say. Like, it was not the kind of thing that really worked that well. Like, the marketing for motion capture at that time was way better than the actual tools, and it was kind of terrible to work on. So after a year, I needed like a long vacation and shaved my head into a rebellious haircut and went to Europe and went around drawing and stuff like that. And but I stayed working at Sony Imageworks at the time in Culver City, California, which is a suburb of LA, and kept on working on Narnia and Open Season and Surf's Up and I Am Legend, and they were a really cool. It was a really cool mix of projects. What's kind of wonderful about a studio like Sony, and they're still like this, is that they do visual effects, they do animation, they do cartoony stuff, they do very realistic things. And as an animator there, I got to try working on all kinds of things like that, like very wide array of stuff. And I think one of the things about a career in art that's really special is that it's never really boring. You're never doing the same thing twice, or hopefully you're not. And working in a visual effects house like Sony is awesome for that reason. Now Sony is in Vancouver, and right when they were thinking about packing up from LA and chasing the tax break to Canada, I had a friend who was working at Disney Feature Animation in Burbank, just like half hour from where I lived, who said like, come on over. they're making this really cool show called American Dog or movie, and so I took a job on for American Dog. As soon as I got there, they fired the director and changed it to Bolt, which ended up being like actually still a really fun show. It didn't have quite the vibe of Chris Sanders stuff. Like Chris Sanders did Lilo and Stitch, and since leaving Disney, he did How to Train Your Dragon and The Croods, but he had like a really cool vibe, and him and Lester just didn't get along, and plus Disney didn't really want like gambling and guns in their movie about a cute dog. So Bolt came out, and it was a nice place to land at the time because it was this growing studio. There were new leaders. The Pixar people had come in to kind of shape it and help it grow. And it was a really crazy mix of like hand-drawn 2D animators and that were at the twilight of their careers, the last 10 years or so, and all these really, really fresh 3D animators wanting to learn. And that energy went like transferred from Bolt and spilled straight over into making Tangled. And Tangled was a dream team of animation supervision. It was John Kars and Clay Cadis. John directed Paperman. He's gone off to make To the Moon, something on Netflix this year. And Clay made Christmas Chronicles and Angry Birds movie. And then Glenn Keane was also the leader of our animation department. And Glenn was the creator of The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Tarzan and Beast, like incredible legendary animator. So to sit and learn and animate on Rapunzel, which became Tangled, with Glenn there, just sitting and watching him draw for hours on your shots was, absolutely amazing to get to have that experience. And partly along the way, I got to meet this artist named Jeff Turley, who did this painting, who I absolutely has become one of my best friends, and I just love his taste. And we work on everything we can together. So as Tangled was wrapping up, I think was a really pivotal little moment of career choice or instinct or something that ended up working out really, really well. And I think it comes down to this idea of like, there's a whole lot in any career, and especially the movie industry, that you can't control. There's trends and money and studios building up and folding and big companies buying each other. But there's always some things that you can control. And Disney started this program called Spark, and it was emulating a really trendy thing at the time called Google's 20% Time. And it was run by Don Yamazi and Christina Reed. And both of these women are wonderful. And Don is now a recruiter and talent development at Illumination. Christine is a producer, an independent producer. But they started this program where you could take 20% of your time and just do something you're passionate about. And you could actually even get a little group of friends together and try to make something with that time, like a piece of animation or something. And I found, like, I've realized now that most of what directing actually is like having an idea to make something that you can't possibly do by yourself. And most of the work is getting the idea, being able to speak about it clear enough and inspire other people to jump on board and help in either with their time or their lives or their money or something, And so I gathered a bunch of friends, and I was like, I want to do something with this. This sounds fun. Let's make something cool. And we made this little test with a bunch of animators that were sitting around doing nothing called Pet. It was like for a fake movie. It's not even a movie that existed. And I didn't really know people in the lighting department, so we weren't even going to light it. We were just going to use like color forms. So these were like us. This is almost 10 years ago now, but this is us like just testing out ideas about how to use Maya, but not light it, like use it just to move around color shapes, the simplest type of animation. And I still kind of love how these things look, and feel like it's a really cool way to think about animation, not about like making things photoreal or beautiful in a doesn't that chrome or glass look amazing, but like in a sort of just what is the bare bones level of appeal, and can you get that just by moving color around? How simple can it be and still be evocative? And this is the little thing that we did here, and this has been on let's see, LA Times, I think, and stuff. Now there would be music normally, but if I put the music on it, then you guys couldn't record this. So no music. But this is all just us spending about 4 weeks. This is like 5 animators getting together and making from nothing to finished. And then we had all of the images getting looking pretty cool, and decided that we would add some sound effects. We got the sound effects guy to help and the music guy to kind of help too, and put stuff together. And it was so much of a little bit of a success that people thought it was like a real movie at the time. And then when they realized it wasn't, they're like, oh, we need to like make some movies that look cool like this. And I worked on a canceled film for John Musker and Ron Clements, the folks who directed Little Mermaid and Moana. But that was going to look cool like that, and we had to like throw it all out when the story had issues. But we took that technology and wrapped it into making Paperman with John Cars. And John had the story that it was at Pixar as a short that they were going to do. It was going to be a photoreal, rendered short. And John asked if Jeff Turley and I, the production designer, the artist, and behind the look of that pet short, to help out. And we then spent a year and a half making software to do this from scratch, and that you can draw on top of 3D animation and have it kind of auto in between all of that. Excuse the hammering. Also, they tore down the house next door, and sometimes they have been hammering. So that ended up, winning an Oscar for Jean. It was super cool. I got a software patent out of it somehow. I haven't ever written a line of code, and I have 2 software patents somehow. But it was really cool to see what you could do with a small team of people within a year or so of work. And from there, I started working on Big Hero 6. I skipped Frozen. I just thought Big Hero 6 looked a little more my speed and fun. I was the animation head, along with a guy named Zach Parrish, of that movie for the first year. I got to create Baymax, the white cloud, the cuddly form version of him. That was my guy. And about a year into it, they opened up the ability for internal people at Disney to pitch their own shorts. And I love making Paperman so much. Even though I was leading Big Hero 6 on the animation crew, I went and pitched a couple ideas. And long story short, like I got to make one of them. So ended up not finishing out Big Hero 6. But I wanted to go through a little bit of what it's like to pitch stories internally at a place, and then contrast that with externally, and how things actually get made, because it's a lot less mysterious than it maybe seems. So I'll do Feast and Pearl to compare. One was the Disney one, and one was internal, and one was external to a company like Google. So Feast, when you start a project, and I love this concept, I think it's totally right, that you have 3 ideas, not just one. Like when you can't pitch anything until you have 3 ideas that you're really interested in and passionate about. And because it really makes it so you're not too precious about one particular thing, because if an artist is worth anything, it's not about one clever idea, it's about a way of thinking. And so when they opened up the pitches for Feast, for the shorts at Disney, you had to fill in your 3 ideas like in a web form, and then hit like submit, and they would call you and say, okay, pitch. And I didn't really even know what the ideas were, but I kind of obsessively take notes in Evernote. I've switched away from Evernote now, but I use just the Apple Notes. But like I had these 3 notes that I thought maybe could, end up being in the story. One was meals that meant something. One was this idea about contagious yawns, like a very cartoony thing about yawning and empathy, and it ended in a zombie apocalypse. And one was about, I called Lucky, about two evolving species from cell to planet, planetary traveling systems that were kind of like brothers. And so I pitched these, I get all these ideas together, put them in the form, and like I called Feast wasn't called Feast yet; it's called Where the Humans Eat. And so I sort of you enter this form, and I thought maybe I'd have like months to kind of work out like a real pitch. And they called me like literally like 2 days later, like, all right, come down and like pitch us your ideas. And it wasn't to like the whole team yet. It wasn't to John Lester, the heads of the studio. It was just to development, people that help with pitches. But I delayed that meeting. I said I was busy. Big Hero 6 had stuff to do, and I got to work kind of developing, what it was. And being addicted to Evernote, I had this is the actual note of like trying to shape maybe a story around this idea that meals mean something, like that. Like if you look at the context of a particular meal that you're eating, you can probably see meal to meal to meal a story in the people around that. There's like wedding dinners. There's what do street tacos feel like? What is like a meal on a plane, like things like that. It felt like it would be cool to shape a story around that. And that's really all I really had at the beginning. And that turned into Where the Humans Eat, and then turned into Feast. And I feel like when ideas come together, it's usually not one clever thing. It's like a few at once that really do it. So I think with Feast, it was this, this is a guy named Willie Mason. He's singing a song called Where the Humans Eat, which is why we ended up not titling the film that. But and this is about his cat. It turned out I thought it was about a dog. I misunderstood the song. It's a really awesome song. Also, at that time, I was beta testing this app called 1 Second Every Day. And this was like an app that you could make a calendar video, and it strung like an entire year into 6 minutes. And I did one version of this 1 second every day that was just food, just meals or dinner specifically. And some of it is parties, some of it is out, some of it's by myself, some of it's like super indulgent, some of it's healthy. I loved how there was so much like context around it, and I thought that would be cool. And then I thought, what if like you would combine ideas and this little dog below the table, and you're watching like a relationship form and break apart over the meals, all while the dog's begging for food. And that was kind of that was essentially the pitch. That so you start to like work with development and hone that idea and what the beginning, middle, and end of that story might be. I did a couple paintings. You find reference of other films that feel like, I went and like looked at cooking scenes and diner and dinner scenes and all kinds of movies and how iconic they end up being, and thought that was a nice thing to kind of anchor. And then I have several steps of, it used to be in a studio, little office room. Now it's here in the garage, of putting cards up and trying to like work on beats and moments that would be interesting and find a string through them, sometimes literal string, and kind of track the story. So this is like me. I used a teaching app called Scapple back in the day. Now I use this program called Miro because it allows you to put videos, and it's all web-based, so you can use it on your phone or your, I always have this like panic thing of like, if I'm out and I have an idea, what do I do with it? I got to be able to not lose it. So I love Miro because I can throw stuff in. You can make like mind maps and track story through it and everything. And it ended up being these, beats of the story, beginning, middle, and end, that I pitched out to Lassiter, along with artwork, one little board of artwork for each scene. Not final stuff, just like the idea. And then John, after a couple months of deliberating and waiting for everyone to pitch to them, ultimately they called and said, it's mine to make. I got to pick my crew, which is a big part of directing something. Is just choosing the right collaborators, casting properly, all that stuff. And Christina Reed and Jeff Turley were like the ones that I wanted to 100% have be a part of this. I thought there was no way I could make it without them, and they agreed to come along for the ride. And this is what the first pass of the storyboards kind of look like. These are done by an artist named Cleo Chang, and because you're making a short within a big studio who makes features, and the features have to make money, but the shorts are kind of for artistic exploration, you don't really have control of the staffing other than your main people. So, I basically, you get a call saying Cleo has 2 weeks. She'd love to help you. Do you want her to help? Yes, I say yes to anyone who is willing to help. So we had about 5 or 6 different story artists. And the main note I got after this initial round was like, the story makes sense, it's cute or whatever, but Lassiter, he put his hand on my shoulder and was like, it's not clever enough, it doesn't feel special. He's like, go back to your pitch. What made your pitch like really shine and be special? What are like the quirky things in there that you have that would really make it stand out? And I thought about the 1 second every day video, and this idea that like all of the meals are in the center and the life is like going swirling around. And what if I like gave myself a really, really strict compositional rule that like the food is like, when things are going good, the food's in the center and pushed towards the middle, and when things are going badly, it gets kind of shoved aside, and give it like a little bit of an art housey thing, something that could make it compositionally and cinematically stand out. So that's what we ended up doing. So if you watch the short, you will see that that's the rule I stuck with, and I think it actually really, really elevates it. So this is now on Netflix for another week. It's on Disney Plus starting the 12th, which is super cool. All of the latest big Disney shorts from like 2014 to 2018 or so are going onto the platform then, which is neat. And this came out with Big Hero 6, absolutely changed my life. Because with getting recognized with an Oscar like that, every door it flies open in an incredibly intimidating way. Because internally, you're an animator, you're an employee at Disney. That's what they think of you like. And it's about 10 years of like development and struggle to get a feature made there versus leaving. So I suddenly realized like, oh shit, I have to quit this amazing job. And there are a lot of issues that make like freelance directing really scary to me. I'm a procrastinator. I have this taste, but I usually can't execute on it. Like for most of the crafts, I can animate great, I can't storyboard really. I mean, I'm okay, but I can't light. I can't really do concept art. I'm not a writer, or wasn't, turned into one now. And I don't really know anyone outside of Disney. I'd worked there for like 7 years at that point, so it became pretty tricky. And what it says behind me. Let's see if I can do this video trick. Did that work? Watch this. Yeah, look, there I went. I'm not a great money saver, and also I'm a nice person, and apparently in Hollywood that's bad. I don't know. So I felt like this is going to be scary. And the scariest part about that was that no one who had left Disney or Pixar after directing a short, that even if it won an Oscar, had been able to make anything. And it had been like a dozen people. And that has changed now, luckily. But at the time, that was a super scary thing. One of the luckiest things that happened during that whole part of putting a film out for Hollywood Awards is you have to like go to festivals and meet people, and it's wonderful, but it's like months of doing that, and as long as Disney's paying, it's incredible. So I was in in a town called Annecy in France, which has a great animation festival, and sat down with two people, Karen Duflo and Jan Pinkava. Jan Pinkava directed Jerry's Game at Pixar and was the creator of Ratatouille. And he said, hey, you know, I'm not going to push you to leave Disney or anything, but if you are, we're making cool things over at Spotlight Stories at Google, and you'd be welcome. And for me, that was the parachute I needed, like a little bit of potential money to survive in order to do it. And the tricky thing there was they were making 360 video. It was interactive, but not, you know, supposed to be through a phone. VR didn't really work yet. So I thought, you know, what would I do? And so I just gathered a bunch of inspiration. I love these kind of really simple. I thought it would be cool to do like something travel-y, something inside of a vehicle. This is the car that my parents had growing up. I just thought, like, what if I did something about, you know, something about like passing on a creative life, like do something for my dad, essentially, like, because I had this career because he sat and drew with me. What if I do like the music version of that? And I thought there's like before for Feast, like reference really cool like scenes that happen in vehicles. There's all kinds of, you know, iconic scenes that you could remember that play in the space, you know. So what, you know, why not try to make something like that? And like there's also like really a ton of these like YouTube videos of people like singing in their cars and everything. And could I like show the life of a car much like I did the relationship, but from the inside? And then the other neat thing was with car windows, I thought, even though you don't have like composition in VR projects like you don't have a frame necessarily, the car window is a frame. And there's this classic kind of Hollywood technique of, you know, frames within frames. I thought maybe I could still make cool compositions within those windows. And with Google, the green light was a little weirder and softer. It was like, okay, let's do it. You're hired here now. And they didn't have the typical story rooms, but they had tons of whiteboard rooms. So I just adapted the technique. Again, I brought on some collaborators that I thought were amazing. Tuna Bora and Cassidy Curtis. Tuna I found because of Twitter. I just liked her artwork on Twitter. And then because it was like a VR thing, I had to start to figure out how to plan, like what that even looked like. So as I went scene by scene, I'm like, where are these characters going to be? Where do I want the audience to be looking? Can I lead the characters with that, with action and sound maybe? And did a version of a storyboard / you know, like really crude 3D mock-up. And just to kind of imagine what it's like to watch the story from inside the vehicle and how we're going to do that. And then Tuna took those ideas and kind of made them absolutely freaking gorgeous. And then we ended up, you know, with Pearl. And I'm not even sure, I'm honest, like I don't know how you watch Pearl now because Spotlight Stories is gone. I guess it's on YouTube, and maybe there's still an app that exists. But or you can maybe watch it on like Oculus Rift or something. But you know, it was a fun technological exercise also to get any kind of animation to run on a cell phone that was like 4 years old. It was like a really kind of lo-fi rendering system that we had to make. And you know, I think it looks pretty, you know, it still looks pretty neat. So, you know, amazingly, that got nominated for an Oscar too. And I feel like, you know, at this point, I'm realizing that a lot of the Oscar stuff is like these big corporations kind of will it to happen. They put your name out there enough that people vote. And it's been, you know, to go once was amazing, to go again and, you know, stand there next to Pharrell and Lin-Manuel Miranda. It was really cool. I don't want to make it sound like all of this is incredibly easy or perfect. You know, a lot of projects don't go great. Like people don't really talk about it so often, but like so much of this is pitching and developing and coming up with ideas and falling in love with those ideas and then not ever telling anybody about them or getting to. and then a studio might buy it or might start to, by buy it, they pay you a little bit of money to keep working on it, and then they kind of own it. And it's all tricky and crazy. And then even things that do get made, sometimes they don't turn out how you like. I made a Imaginary Mary. It was pitched as an entirely different show to entirely different bosses, and then through development over 6 months or so turns into what it is. I think the people that worked on it, the actors and the talent behind it and the writers were incredible though, and it was really, really fun. And then a lot of projects fade and a lot of projects get canceled. I was working on a project called Battling Boy for a while. It took too long to get the script right, and the leadership of Paramount changed, and you kind of left floating. Similar things happened to, I was working on a Monument Valley pitch for a while, a Nemo in Slumberland story. This is public domain all of a sudden, so like there's probably going to be a lot of these now. I was also working on What If, a story called Night Creatures. Monument Valley, like I said, and the big heartbreak of the last couple of years was Nimona, which some of you probably know. I was working on that for 4 years at Blue Sky Studios. It was a Fox-owned company. Disney bought Fox, and after a year and a half of will they, won't they shut the whole place down and canceled the movie. And luckily, though, I do believe it still has a chance, just not in my hands. And I think for me, the lessons of those failures, though, generally are that like studio heads get fired a lot, corporations merge. These are things that you can't control. Both of those things are really deadly to projects, and unless they're like Marvel or something, then they'll still happen. And you just have to like get things done as quick as you can. And the trick is to maintain passion of a project for many and many years, even through setbacks and changes. That can be hard. And sometimes you just don't have the power after it all to make it happen, and you can't be sad about that. You got to be a little bit stoic in your thinking. But if you're lucky, projects find you, or at least because of my outward sort of reputation now and films, things are always kind of passing by, and most of it needs a lot of work and fixing, and like someone will send you a script and it's like not very good, and you're like, I don't really want to spend months to make this good, maybe, but like, and I'm also pitching my own stuff. But I've been lucky recently. I did an episode of Love, Death and Robots that is not out yet, but it is an awesome series to have been a part of, and I really enjoyed the team there. I went and started working with Nexus, a London-based animation boutique studio that normally does advertising. I've done a couple really cool branded projects. This one was a COVID project because these kids in Las Vegas at this performing arts middle school had their play canceled, and we decided to put on a play with them by shipping these little carts to their house that could record their voice and mocap their face and put those on characters and make the story. With 24 kids in this story. It was a really cool thing. We documented the whole thing, and it's on YouTube, and you can check it out. And then this summer, I had this amazing chance to spend 15 weeks working with Billie Eilish as she approached the release of her sophomore album, and that was in collaboration with Robert Rodriguez, also a director I've admired for my whole life. So the chance to kind of get to direct live action, to get to direct a live involved, see what it's like to make like a concert film at a place. And I know most of you probably haven't been to the Hollywood Bowl, but like it's an 18,000 seat arena in the center of LA. It is beautiful. In the 70s, they had a pool in front of it, a reflecting pool, and they play the symphony would play there, and the reflecting pool was there in front. And after like an accident at the Jimi Hendrix show or something, they shut it. They drained it, and now the pool is like the expensive seats. But because we had the bowl for a week to shoot this, they let us refill the pool. It's the first time it's been full in 40 years. And I think it looked incredible as a show. And then I also believe that like it's really important to tinker, and like just be creative. Like, and I've been messing around with the using AR Kit and Unreal Engine to kind of create characters that I can puppeteer live in 3D. So this is me like building these little guys and Blender and Unreal and free to use software if you're not making money with it. And it's so much fun to think about making stories this way. And this turned into a software project, my second patent, that I realized that I wanted to like act with other friends, but we were all like COVID lockdown in our garages and there was no way to like sync it up. I wanted to be able to do like an actual like live improv show. And we made the software to make that possible. So you can have multiple people capturing their face live, all streamed to the cloud and then synced and put back down into an Unreal session it all works live. So we've been putting on this little live streamed improv show every month or so with different actors just to have a little bit of fun. I'm realizing now you might be able to hear this. I can't hear this. I don't know how loud it is, so I apologize if it's super loud. I think there's a weird thing that happens in directing that that it really is just like making a project that's bigger than you can possibly do. Like that's the most authentic version of like being a director is like, how do I make this huge thing that I can't do myself? But the weird thing you have to do is you have to take everything, all those skills that got you to where you are to get to that spot, like animating in my case, and like stop doing it for the most part, because you no longer have time to do that. Because now it's all about collaborating. It's like, and then I think it's really important to actually love everything that you're doing and fall in love with those ideas every day. And you have to convince strangers to fall in love with those ideas too. And then also kind of be okay if it doesn't work. And, I think the biggest thing, three things I kind of want to land on, and then we can get questions and stuff. But one is like trusting your instincts. Like when you feel like something's right or something's wrong, the only choice is to go with that, because if it feels wrong and you're just doing it for money or something else or whatever reason, you're going to feel like a fraud every time you try to convince someone else to help. And the instinct is everything there. And then I'm a big believer in like saying yes. Like if something seems exciting, just don't let that voice that says like, I don't know if I'm ready or whatever, just like do it and learn why you do it. Say yes. You're not a thing, but you're not animated before you animate. You're not directed before you direct a movie. So just don't worry about it. And then I think it's also important to like take note when you love something, because like the best way to come up with ideas that mean something to you are that they're this like smash up of things that you love. And when you smash them together, they turn into something better than each of those individual things ever were. Every project that's gone well has always been that in some way. It's been some kind of remarkable collision of things that you like. And it's really easy to maintain that passion that you need over a long period of time if you really like this part, and really like this part, and really like this part. So I think that's my general thing, but we can discuss whatever you guys want. I don't know how I'm getting fielded questions, but I'm sure we can do it some way.
Well, can we turn on the light and maybe people can come up and ask some questions if they want to?
Sure.
And we're all masked here, so. But what a great presentation. It was really, and I agree with the, do what you love. And it seems like the industry is constantly changing. Do you think right now is kind of a golden age of animation? It feels like it to me.
There's a lot being made, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely there's more being done now than ever, and there's more opportunities for new people than ever. It's a little bit like there's not a lot in America that's the tricky part, because it's like so much of what you see animated is tax incentive supported by other countries trying to steal the work away. So to live and work in LA in animation as a writer or director, it's possible, but it's very hard to be an animator here now because there's just most of it is somewhere else. Sometimes that somewhere else is an amazing metropolitan place. There's a lot in Canada. So there's Vancouver, there's Montreal. Those are both incredible. Toronto, London has a lot, and New Zealand and Australia also have a ton of great stuff. And there's a few companies like Atlanta that take the advantage of the giant Georgia tax incentive. But it's really to get things down to a producible budget, because there's so many tax incentives. It's always going to be in a place that gets a third of their budget paid by the government.
Interesting.
It's weird.
And I want to give the students an opportunity to ask questions. And do you have anyone questions, Brad? Anyone? Oh, let's see. I think I saw you first. Yeah. Tanma, you want to come up here even and ask it, or is that okay? If she comes, okay, yeah, you can. So you don't just hear a disembodied voice.
What?
So yeah, just come up here and ask your question. We've got a slightly different setup than.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to ask, you bring a lot of like really talented and amazing artists and animators onto your projects. And I was wondering, when you're looking for talent to fulfill your ideas, what do you look for when you're bringing people on? Like, what's that like special spice that separates the people you bring on versus anyone else?
I mean, I mostly now when I'm looking for something, it's generally for I'm developing a bunch of things. So it's like features or TV shows, and it's generally for like look a picture, character design, or like still images that could be from the movie. And that is me just on Twitter or ArtStation or Instagram sometimes, like just browsing and like searching a few words that feel kind of close and seeing what it is. And that's usually for like a temp thing. So like you don't want, like there's two different ways of recruiting. There's like leadership, like I know Jeff Turley can take it and to make a whole show, and he can work for a year and like knows how to, and then there's like an artist that you've never worked with, but you like their artwork enough that you're gonna like roll the dice for like a month. So like those Twitter hires are like, I'm gonna hire that person for 4 weeks, sight unseen, knowing that I might not like it at the end, but like I loved a few of their things and I want to see what they do with this story. And that is like, that's like the beginning stage of stuff. And for the artist, I think that's the most fun part. And then I'll do that. I do that for every project for like environment, like paintings and character design, because those are two things you need to have to sell the show. And so far I've been lucky where I haven't like been personally paying for that. I always find a producer who's willing to put up a little bit of cash for the artists, because I think you need that little bit. And I'll sketch stuff, but I just do like a scribble version. I'm a campfire guitarist at all things. I can play enough to sit around a campfire, but not like professionally for most of these things. So I'll do some character designs. I'll be like, you get the idea, do it good now. But that's all just Twitter. That's all Twitter for me. It really is like, it's just kind of going down rabbit holes, and like I bookmark like things that I think are cool that I just like pass, and I just look through the bookmarks. Sometimes I put them into like a Miro board of reference images for the latest project that I can't really talk about, but I just made a board of like artists I felt like would get this project, and then I ranked the top 3, and I had the company reach out and get their weekly rate, and then we just said the top person wants to do it, the weekly rate is good, okay, and we just pay them for a month to paint. And yeah, it's all that. For studio hiring is a little different because it's like more corporate and there's official ways to like make portfolios and things. And sometimes for me, it's just like that one painting's great. I just want something that feels cool like that. And, I do I know I still paint, but I don't. My like normal painting is like figure like live portraiture, like a 3 hour alla prima portrait in oil. It has nothing to do with like concept art and stuff. But I know enough to like kind of know when someone can handle it. And then sometimes you get recommended. Like Jeff was working at Pixar now, but like I'll call him and say, I need someone who kind of like could do this project. Do you know anybody that you like right now? And
That's a great question.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
what I
well,
do. Yeah.
anyone else?
There's how
Excellent.
much of an adjustment period was there from working a part of a team? I don't remember like not working as a team anymore. So it's hard to say. Like in college, it was like you do your own thing, and it was kind of the only time that ever happened. You have to be pretty good. You have to either
Yeah,
be
there was
like,
a question on the chat.
yeah, you have to be like really good at working with other people, or like so amazingly talented that like people will just put up with you to get. But that's really like not common. Like most people who are huge assholes don't last very long.
Who else has questions? Anyone else have a question? Yeah, you want to come up, Alex?
I'm too tall for this. If you could, the pet idea you had for Disney, if you had the budget and stuff like that, would you actually make that into a film if you could?
Yeah, probably. But what I wouldn't officially ever say that, because I would always like act like it's a new idea, because you would never want to you never want like a corporation to like feel like they own something, you know. So I would probably do something that felt like that to me but wasn't literally that, so that I would never get sued for doing it unless it was Disney that but yeah, I think it was to me that was like a it was like a Gremlinsy thing about a kid who raises like a monster in his backyard pool. That was like the story that we had. And then M. Night Shyamalan had like Lady in the Water, which kind of felt adjacent, but now doesn't actually. But at the time, we're like, oh, maybe we can't do that. It's like the stories go in these trends. So you have to like, whatever you're pitching or trying to make and trying to get studios to make, it has to feel like it's not like anything that other places are making, and everybody's always whispering about what's being made. Because you can't really know like what DreamWorks is doing necessarily, but you have to like sort of find out to make sure that what you're suggesting is exactly like that, because that's an easy no for someone if they're like, well, they're already doing it, so we're not going to invest, you know. So, but yeah, maybe, yeah. I can't tell how many questions there are, so I don't know how much to ramble. Thanks.
Anyone else have questions they want to come up and ask? Do you have a question?
Hi. I was wondering if you had any tips for like getting past burnout and like getting your passion back.
Yeah, I mean that happens for me all the time. It's the real trick. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old now, and my wife works at Netflix Animation, and I'm kind of all over the place. And because we both work at home, and one of the kids goes to school now, but like there's this issue that happens where I really feel like the best way to get over that hump is to start scribbling or doing something, and like not judging it, but like just trying to start. Because like I face this every day, where at a certain point in the day when they come home from school, we can't both be in meetings or working or having real concentration. So there's that 3-hour period where it's like play, put them to bed, or have dinner, put them to bed. And then it's like 9 o'clock and you're already tired from the day. And that's the time I need to like say, okay, I have to do stuff now. Otherwise this day didn't happen, you know? And that's so and for me, the burnout comes in small ways like that, but it's like it's about that. And then also I always have like 8 things that I'm doing that are in various stages. So if one feels a little bit dead and not inspired for the moment, then I just try to do a different one for a while. And then usually the other one comes back. And the other thing I do is like, if I'm hitting like a really big wall, I will just name the problems I'm running into, like what's not working, like try to say it. And then like stop doing it and like go for a run or something, like something exercisey or different or totally not art related. That, and I usually find that like the answers come like while doing something else. And then it's good to have like a phone or a notepad or something to write it down. And I find the hardest thing in the world, like I've written a few things now, like done. It's weird to go from like I draw and paint and now I'm being paid as a screenwriter, but like all of a sudden that happens. But I find writing to be incredibly hard. I haven't had an English class since like high school, and I find that it's really easy to kind of like just walk around thinking and feel like you're procrastinating. But I think like actually a lot of writing is not like sitting down and writing, but it's like letting your brain kind of work through all the stuff a little bit subconsciously. So I don't think you should beat yourself up about like not being productive either, because it's hard to like maintain it constantly. I'm like, and you all are probably like this, but like I don't really do anything other than this. Like I turned all of my hobbies and passions into a career, which means that like you're never not working. So this idea of like work-life balance becomes a joke at a certain point, because I love doing this stuff, but it's also work. So you just kind of have to find the split. I guess if other people have hobbies, I feel jealous, because I just like screwing around in the Unreal Engine still feels like it's kind of working. Even
Okay,
if
let's
it's not
take,
boring.
we're right at an hour, so do we want to take just one more question?
Whatever you guys want.
Who had-
All I'm doing after this is going for a jog anyway. Like I said,
That's a
we
good way.
we
Who
had
was it
we have a parent mixer for all of the other preschool parents that were supposed to go to today, and I don't know what that's going to be like.
Brad, did you have
I
something
just
you
have a
want?
quick question.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think there's still maybe one.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming today.
Sure.
Students are just engaging in, our new animation program here. And we've heard from lots of different animators, different perspectives. And I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on what were some of the things that you got out of your time in undergrad at Ringling, for example. Was it the drawing skills, developing the gesture drawing, or was it developing the concepts, the ability to work together as a team? Maybe just talk a little bit about what are the things that you think are essential for students to get as they move on beyond to get out of their education here.
Yeah, I mean, we never like it. Really, you could do team projects, but no one in my class did for some reason. We were just like very, I'm doing my own thing right now, and I do kind of like that happens. I also taught at CalArts a little bit, and they did a neat thing where they made a film every year, no matter like of varying degrees of difficulty, but like something complete. And did it individually. And I think it's cool to do that because there's no other time in your life where you just have the time to do that. And it really is like a expression of your skill or your own voice that you're developing in more than any other time. Though I do think having some group projects along the way is always good because you can't avoid that at work. Like if you're making anything professionally, it's at least 10 people, and if it's Disney, it's 700. Like there's no not working with teams. I did appreciate learning all of the generalist things. Like I know how to rig and model and sculpt and animate and do some lighting enough to understand it. Because once you're actually like trying to make bigger stories and directing stuff, it's really great to know what everyone's doing that's working for you. And I loved that Ringling made us have a generalist education underneath, like learning to do things hopefully well. You know, they didn't really say like you need to learn to just animate or pick something. Like we had to make films, which I think is cool. And I have no idea what your curriculum is like, so I don't know if I'm saying the right stuff, but whatever. And I think drawing has always been something I've loved to do and find relaxing, and sort of like I always loved in art school how like everyone was drawing like during math class even, or other odd classes that you had to take in art school. And it was like in between, it was kind of like it connects your brain to the lecture more than it looks like it's doing, which I felt like was nice. Like I like that you can kind of scribble, and so it's kind of grounding to your mental, to your sanity. And I draw okay, you know, but like you know, now it's most of what I do is very, very scribbly. You want me to pull? I'll pull up something, show you what I literally draw like now, and you can judge it. And you'll have no idea what this is or any context, but it'll be funny.
So that's why it's always important to carry a sketchbook everywhere.
Sure, yeah. I like this app called Calipeg. So this is when I storyboard, this is what it looks like. You know, it's very loose, and sometimes it's colored, sometimes it's just scribbles and shots. You know, sometimes I'm just thinking about various ideas that might happen. I try to keep it like not fancy, like just a no textured black line and a few tones if I need to tone anything for emotion. You know, it's that kind of stuff. This was literally what I was doing this morning before coming here. It's like, what shots do I need? And I like this arrow stuff I don't like to do, but this is just for me, like later, okay, I'm gonna like do something with this shot. I like it to sell like any kind of action or activity. I kind of like it to sell in the difference between drawings and storyboards like this. But it's very
That's perfect. That's literally perfect what we try to teach with storyboarding.
yes,
What
I'm
program
not,
are you using?
this is Calipeg. I freaking love it. It's like a French 2D animation iPad app. But what I love about it is it's got layers, right? All of those layers there, and you can move the individual frames around in the layers and reorder them and make them transparent, but it's not that fancy. So, you know, you can like kind of get away with, it's not encouraging you to do really nicely rendered stuff. So yeah,
That's really
anyway.
cool.
So this is,
Thanks so much.
yeah, I mean, when I'm trying to make something, I've pitched movies in various different ways, but sometimes like doing a little storyboard animatic for a section of the movie that's really cool, even if they have like this one particular has a script, and I storyboarded 10 pages of the script in about a month. I do story and then edit that myself, and then I get friends to do the voices as part of a pitch deck to try to get a studio to fund the whole thing. And that's so.
Oh, go on, finish your sentence.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
Is there anyone that wants to do one last question, or are we good?
Sure, yeah, you can do one.
So, do you want to attend mine? Do you want to, or was there somebody else that I missed? Brad could see better. Okay, attend mine. What's your question?
You're talking about live streaming, VR improv, and I want to know if it's still a thing, if you still want it, and if the software fails.
She was asking, could you hear her? She asked if the VR
Kinda.
improv is still available. She loves that idea.
Yeah, we haven't done a show in a while because we filed for a patent and then refactored the whole thing to work. But the intent is to be able to distribute that to anyone just to use. We're going to make big companies pay for it and let regular people who want to do streams have it. You can basically do a VTuber stream with other people in the same scene at the same time. Like, so everyone's not just like lonely by themselves in these virtual spaces, you know. But it's really, I recommend like looking up how in Blender or whatever it works, or Maya, you can make a character that has one of these 52 blend shapes, like expressions that the iPhone is looking for to do its Animoji stuff. And you can actually like stream the iPhone data into Blender Live and puppet a character that you've made with all these facial shapes. It's really fun and like doesn't take long. It like once you have like the face made, it takes all you need is like a smile and an open jaw and a blink, and that's enough to start. And that it works with just those 3 shapes, and then you can add up to the full 52 if you want. But it's really cool to kind of make, and then you can record it and like and change the curves and make it look better, or use that as a starting spot. That's what we did for the kid thing at Nexus. We didn't use it. It's not a finished animation that's coming out. It's like a starting spot, you know.
Well, we really appreciate the time you've given us. I mean, this has been really informative and great to see into your work. And if people want to watch it again, we'll be putting it up on the School of the Arts YouTube channel. And it's been great to meet you even virtually. Hopefully sometime you'll be back in Cincinnati and maybe you could visit in person.